A very good evening. So in today's class we'll be studying the human digestive system, which is an important topic for the chapter life processes of class 10, and again it's carried out to class 11 biology, the chapter digestion and absorption. That is in even more detail. So today we'll just understand the elementary structure which is responsible and important for class 10 to score good marks in biology in the chapter life processes. Now, the human digestive system is called a complete digestive system. Okay, it's called a complete digestive system. Now, why is it called complete? Complete it is called because it has two openings. Okay, the one opening for which the food enters, which is for ingestion or entering of food, and one for the food to, or the waste material of food to go out for egestion, the anus. So because of two openings, the mouth for the food to enter and the second one, the anus, for the food to go out, we have a complete digestive system. There are many organisms who have only one opening. They are incomplete, like the amoeba. Okay. So moving on to the detailing of the digestive system. As you can see in this diagram, it is very well labeled. So we'll take up these organs one by one. So coming to the first organ, which is the mouth. The mouth is also called oral cavity. Oral cavity, and it is made up of two major structures which are responsible for digestion, which are the teeth and the tongue. Okay, the teeth and the tongue are important structures in the mouth responsible for digestion. Now when I talk about the teeth, there are four types of teeth which we have: incisors, canines, premolars and molars. Okay, incisors are responsible for biting of the food. Canines are responsible for tearing of food. Some food which is very hard, is like meat, is torn with the help of canine. Even your roti. Premolars are for chewing of the food. Okay, they chew the food, and even furthermore chewing, breaking it into very small particles which we can swallow, is the molars, and the function is grinding of the food. They grind the food. Okay, now in the molars, the last four molars are called the wisdom teeth, and they are actually vestigial. Okay, vestigial in nature because we don't use the wisdom teeth anymore. Even if they are absent, it won't affect us. Fine. So that was about the teeth, which have the major function of breaking down the food into smaller particles. Now the muscular fleshy tongue. What is the role of tongue? Tongue has many roles. It has a role of wettening the food, moistening the food. Okay, but the most important function of the tongue is to mix the food with saliva. Now why saliva? The saliva has enzyme salivary amylase which breaks down carbohydrates. Okay, I'll be doing the functions of the organs and the pathway of digestion. I have already done for carbohydrates in my video, and I'll be taking up another video for even more detailing of that concept. Today we are just understanding the structure. Okay, so this saliva is mixed with the food so that salivary amylase can start the digestion process in the mouth. So mouth is the organ where the digestion process is initiated. Fine. Now one more function of the tongue without which actually we cannot live properly is the taste. The tongue has taste buds in them for tasting of sour food, bitter food, spicy food, sweet food, and that is the function of tasting with the help of taste buds, is one of the very important functions of the tongue. Okay. Now moving on to the next organ is the esophagus, which we often call as the food pipe. Esophagus is called the food pipe. Now what is the function of the esophagus in digestion? Esophagus has no role in digestion. It will not digest anything. The role only is that the esophagus transports the food particles as a bolus. Food particles when mixed with saliva are called bolus to the stomach. Okay, it will transport the food particles to the stomach. That is the only role of the esophagus. Now one important function, the transporting of esophagus, the food particles by esophagus happens through a movement which we call as peristalsis. Peristalsis. Now what is peristalsis? The walls of the esophagus actually are made with many muscular structures, and the contraction and relaxation like this of the muscles to pump the food down, just like the heart muscles pump the blood like this. Again, I'll show you this figure, is actually done by peristalsis, which is another important function of esophagus for transport. Okay, so peristalsis are done by muscular movement, okay, of the esophagus. So one end of the esophagus opens from the mouth and then it leads to the stomach. So now moving on to the next organ, the stomach. Now the stomach is a bag, actually bag like small structure. This is the stomach, okay, bag like strong structure which stores the food for some hours, and some digestive processes are initiated in it. Now these walls of the stomach, if you will concentrate on, I am concentrating on these walls of the stomach. They have certain glands in them which are called as gastric glands. Gastric glands. Now what is the function of these gastric glands? The function is the gastric glands have three types of cells, okay, three types of cells: mucosal cells, okay, then acid secreting cells and pepsinogenic cells. So I'll talk about those cells in my video of class 11, because for class 10 level we don't need to understand the cells in detail. Now let's understand what is the function of the gastric gland. So I'll put the diagram aside for a minute and try to explain it here on my sheet. So just see, the gastric glands are present in the stomach, have three major roles, okay. They have three major roles of secretions. They secrete, number one, HCl, hydrochloric acid. Now this HCl is very important for enzyme activation. There are enzymes present in the gastric glands, which is mainly the pepsin enzyme. I'll just take it up. And for activating that enzyme, HCl is very, very important. The second is killing of microbes. Killing of microbes with the food is also undertaken by HCl in a big way. Okay. Coming to the next secretion, the next secretion of the gastric glands is mucus. Now mucus is a layer on the stomach secreted by gastric glands, and this mucus is responsible for protecting the wall of stomach, protecting stomach walls from HCl. Because HCl is a corrosive acid, it can harm the stomach walls also, and we need to protect those stomach walls, and that function is carried out by the mucus. So coming on to the third secretion of the gastric glands, is pepsin. Now pepsin is an enzyme which is digesting proteins, okay. It's a proteinaceous enzyme for digesting of proteins and converting proteins into smaller molecules, okay. And HCl is required for activation of this pepsin, because this pepsin was only activated in the acidic nature. This will work in acidic nature, which means a low pH, okay. So acidic nature for pepsin is given by HCl. Now I'll be undertaking pepsin once again when I do the video on physiology of processes of food digestion, okay. So just remember this, and this is the major role of your stomach, okay. So stomach is not secreting them. One important, stomach is just a muscular bag. It is the gastric glands which are present in the stomach which is secreting this. One more function of the stomach is converting of the food to chyme. Now what is chyme? Food which is mixed with certain enzymes and HCl become the chyme, okay. So food is converted into a chyme. Churning. The stomach churns the food a lot. It is mixing the food thoroughly with enzymes, churns, churning motion is there. This is churning, mixing like this, and that turns into the chyme. So that's another function of the stomach, okay. So let's move back to the diagram once again. I hope it is clear till now. So we are done with the stomach and the gastric glands, from which we move on to the next organ, the liver. Now the liver is an organ where the food will not enter. The food will never enter the liver, okay, but still liver is important. Let's understand how. So when I talk about liver, I am here, so I'll highlight it. This is the liver, this big organ, and the liver is the largest organ. This is the largest human organ. Okay, the liver. Now, what is the function of the liver? The liver synthesizes bile. Now, what is bile? Bile is it's not an enzyme, it's a juice, okay, which is required for emulsification of fat molecules. Emulsification. Now, what do I mean by emulsification? Emulsification in simpler terms is breaking down. Okay, the fat molecules which are there are actually very large globulous molecules, and digestive enzymes cannot digest them directly. They have to be broken down into smaller molecules before any enzyme can work on them, and that is done by the bile. Okay, so hence bile does not play any role in digestion. It is not digesting anything. It is just emulsifying and breaking down the fat molecules so that the enzymes which digest the fat can act upon them, because the fat molecules are globular, they are very large. Okay, so this was about the bile from the liver. The liver has another role of maintaining the urea cycle. Now, urea cycle means it is a cycle which is responsible for urine secretion. Okay, urination and urine secretion of excretion. Urea cycle, liver is again playing an important role here. Again, for class 10 level, this is not to be detailed. Okay, this is just for a piece of information. Now, below the liver is a small sac here, which I'll again highlight the name, gallbladder. Okay, the gallbladder. Now, what is the function of the gallbladder? The liver secretes bile, and from its duct, the bile duct, the bile goes to the gallbladder for storage. So, gallbladder is providing the function of stores bile. Okay, and from gallbladder only the bile will act upon the fat. But food will never enter the liver or the gallbladder. Okay, now moving on to the next leaf-like very famous structure, the pancreas. Okay, so this is the pancreas. Okay, they are leaf-like structures, and pancreas are very famous because they are hexocrine glands. Okay, now what do I mean by hexocrine glands? I'll explain on the sheet. Okay, so pancreas, as I told you, are hexocrine. Now, hexocrine means both endocrine and exocrine. So, hexocrine is endocrine. Endocrine means ductless, and exocrine, which means having the duct. Okay. Now, pancreas have some secretions which they directly secrete into the blood and become endocrine, and some secretions which they secrete into the through ducts, through which they become exocrine, so they are hexocrine. Okay. Now, endocrine role of pancreas is pancreatic hormones. There are two hormones which pancreas secrete, glucagon and insulin, which maintain the sugar level in the body. And they do it directly into the blood, so they become endocrine from this. But this is nothing to do with digestion. For digestion, pancreas are exocrine. From here, they secrete the digestive juices. Again, food doesn't enter the pancreas; it enters the the pancreatic juices make the food digest. There are three juices that the pancreas secrete: a lipase. Remember these names. Many of you will be encountering these names for the first time. It's hard to remember, but 4-5 readings of the book, the notes are very good. Amylase. Now, amylase, as salivary amylase, again will be doing something with starch. And trypsin. Lipase of pancreas is for digestion of fats. Okay, which fats? Emulsified fats. First, the fats have to be emulsified by bile, and then the lipase will act upon it for digestion. Amylase. Amylase is responsible for starch digestion. The starch which was not digested in the case of the mouth by salivary amylase will be acted upon by the pancreatic amylase. And trypsin is for proteins. Pepsin was for protein there, and trypsin again is for proteins. Fine. So this is about the hexocrine nature of the pancreas. Okay. So now coming back to the diagram, you can take a note of it. So coming back to the diagram now about pancreas is done. So we move on forward with the next endocrine gland. The next one for us, the next digestive gland for us is the intestines. So now we enter the intestines. Intestines are tubular structures. They are very long coiled tubular structures. There are two intestines, the small and the large. But this is again a paradox because the small intestine is very large and the large intestine is small. So it's a kind of a paradox, you can say. So coming on to the small intestine first. This is the small intestine, as you can see here. And the digestion of food actually takes place a lot in the small intestine. Now this small intestine is divided into three major parts. The duodenum, okay, jejunum, and ileum. Okay. Duodenum is the part where all digestions of food are completed. Jejunum is a junction and ileum is the part for absorption. So duodenum is for digestion, D for digestion, jejunum, J for junction, easy to remember, and ileum, I, is for absorption, okay, of the digested food. So many important functions are being undertaken by the small intestine. Okay, very important out of this we'll be considering now is the duodenum. The duodenum actually is responsible for what? Digestion. Now duodenum digests food which it receives from three types of juices. The bile from the liver is acting on the food in duodenum. The pancreatic juices which we talked about, the amylase, lipase and trypsin, these juices, they are also acting in the duodenum from the ducts. And some juices which are called succus entericus, these are intestinal juices, the intestine produces them, are also acting on the food in the duodenum. So the complete digestion is happening in the duodenum from the juices of all these glands. They secreted by ducts called hepatopancreatic ducts into the duodenum. Fine. Now coming on to the ileum. So coming on to the ileum. Ileum is a part of absorption. Now how does this absorb? Now in the ileum, the walls of the ileum, there are many finger-like projections. So I have, this is the ileum, okay. There are many finger-like projections on the wall which are called villi. Now these villi have two features which are responsible for absorption. Number one is they increase the surface area. Surface area increased, absorption rate increased. Fine. And the second is that the villi have many blood vessels. They have many blood vessels, artery branches, vein branches, capillary branches, from which again these blood vessels are playing an important role in the absorption. So the ileum has villi which is doing absorption by increasing the surface area and by having blood vessels including arteries branches, vein branches and mainly capillaries, which will increase the surface area again for maximum absorption of the food. Why is absorption required? Because if we don't absorb the nutrients to the blood, how will the body function? Fine. Is it clear? Okay. So now we move forward to the next part, the large intestine. The large intestine, it's given here, is called colon, but actually it is not called colon. It has a part called colon. Okay. The large intestine has a main part called colon. After that, the part is caecum, and then it has rectum. So if I talk about large intestine, it has colon, which is ascending colon going up, okay, then transverse colon which is going straight, and descending colon which is going down, okay. After that I have the caecum which is just joined to this rectum, and after that I have the rectum. Rectum also is a part of the small intestine or large intestine only, okay. So let's talk about the functions of each of them in detail. So firstly, coming into the colon, Now colon is absorbing some food, so it is absorbing some salt and mainly a little bit of water, okay, is doing by the colon. Then I move to the caecum, where the unabsorbed food, which is the fecal matter, the matter which is waste, the waste is passed to the rectum, okay. Now what is the function of this rectum, and I'll talk about in my next figure. Just see now. These last two parts, rectum and anus, are responsible for removal of the waste product which we call the fecal matter. So they remove fecal matter, which is the waste product, okay. Rectum stores the fecal matter, and then the urge for removal, the anus is the opening from which the fecal matter is removed, and that is called ejection. Ejection is the process of removal of fecal matter. EJECTION, ejection, okay. So rectum and anus are storing and removing the fecal matter which is toxic, which should not be stored in the body from time to time. Another form of excretion, okay. So this was about the detailing of the structure and basic functioning of the units of the digestive system in humans. I hope that the video has made the concept clear. So please give a thumbs up to it and kindly subscribe the channel. Okay, so with this I leave you, and thank you, good afternoon, thank you and good evening once again, and take care. Thank you.